What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a throwback review, not quite a 15 years later one because I did miss that by a bit, but you guys have been asking me what do I think of the Strokes for so long, and why haven't you reviewed more of the Strokes albums? Well, today I'm here to answer that question with a review of their fantastic and dare I say flawless debut album, Is This It? Now here in front of me I have the vinyl edition, of course, and that is the edition that I'm going to be reviewing, even though there was a slightly altered track listing for the US release initially, just because of the song New York City Cops. This album came out in the US right around the time of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and I get it, but New York City Cops is such a better song than the one that they had to replace that, and I don't care for that one that much, but we'll talk about that more as the review goes on. The Strokes are one of the biggest success stories of the 2000s. In fact, they had a huge impact on the music and the indie, alternative, and just music scene at the time. They exploded after Is This It really took off. Room on Fire was big. They changed things up with First Impressions of Earth in 2005. That was my first exposure to them. A different album for them, but not necessarily a totally bad one. Maybe if you guys are interested, I will start reviewing all of the Strokes albums. Just show some love to this video and let me know down in the comments if you're interested. Whenever I think about quintessential early 2000s material, Is This It is always an album I have to highlight and point to. It speaks volumes of what it did for the vitality of music at the time, adding in this kind of punky attitude and just kind of a nonchalant spirit. You could hear Julian Casablancas' voice just kind of waning and waxing over these tracks, and he wasn't trying too hard, but at the same time it didn't feel effortless. You knew that this was a direct maneuver from the band to make a new sound. They have a very garage rock, kind of washed out rock side to them, just very DIY. It was coming through rough around the edges, and they meant for that to happen. During the recording process of Is This It, that's actually how they approach things. This album was put together pretty quickly. It was written fast, but it was written smartly as well. And a lot of this record is a reflection on not just life in New York City, but also relationships that flowed out of that as a result. There's one major female character that seems to be kind of a recurring theme throughout this record. Julian kind of harps on her, and I really do enjoy that. Let's start by talking about some of those tracks. Barely Legal comes through as a really striking moment. I love the guitars on this track, really roaring it to life, but the lyrical content is what really draws you in for the long run and keeps me coming back to it all these years later. He's kind of struggling as an early 20s something person. He's reflecting on this relationship that he's in with this girl who clearly just turned 18. They don't agree on a lot of things. They fight, but maybe the sex is good. And he reflects on this later, I feel like, and I'm thinking maybe it's about the same girl as he goes through moments like Hard to Explain, where he kind of references other things on the record, and I like that because these songs do feel very connected as a whole, but most specifically on track number 6, Alone Together. This is one that is very sexual, probably one of the most straightforward sexual songs that Julian Casablancas has ever penned for the Strokes. He's talking about the things that they do behind closed doors, what he wants, whether it's wrong, whether it's right, where they're headed with this relationship, and the guitar is just sly. It's just like it's creeping around the corners and edges of this track, weaving, maneuvering, cutting in and out. It's almost like going through New York City traffic on moments like this, and that's something that I have to praise about Is This It in general. The drumming, the guitar work, the bass work from Nikolai, it's something that I absolutely find fascinating. I think that these guys play so well together, and as a result of that, whenever I get material from them that just feels forced, or else rushed, or else mediocre, it's just like, you guys have put out some of the best material of the 2000s, and now we're here on this. You've got to try harder, and I'm really hoping that that's what they're doing with their next studio album, because that EP last year showed a ton of promise. Casablancas has such a distinct voice, and whenever he coos and then yells on some of these tracks as well, like the little roar on New York City Cops, or else on Trying Your Luck, whenever he's holding out the voice a little bit more over this kind of nice, steady driving guitar, I can't help but love it every single time I come back to it. Trying Your Luck is another big favorite for me, and really this album closes out on such a strong note. do in the moments like Hard to Explain, New York City Cops, Trying Your Luck, and especially Take It or Leave It. That's one where I constantly have the riff ingrained in my head. If I come back to the song once, I can't stop coming back to it for weeks, just because the melody, it's very repetitive, but at the same time, the whole banana, 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 it's just like, it's simple, but so effective, and they knew exactly what they were doing whenever they were crafting tracks like this. Trying Your Luck does the exact same thing. The little guitar melody and the way that it lines up with the little shifty bass line on that, everything works together perfectly, and you have to praise the musicianship here. Massive single Last Night roars through as one of the defining anthems of the 2000s. It's a track that seemingly everyone knows from the Strokes, and you've got to love Julian's voice on this. The nice little guitar solo on it is forever stuck in my head, and then moments like the other single that a ton of people talked about for the longest time, and I feel like people still come back to and enjoy to this day. Someday, probably one of my least favorites just because it's a bit played out for me at this point, but I have to praise it as a fantastic cut from this record that deserves all of the attention that it gets still to this day. I just hope that people check out more of the record too, not just the singles. But Last Night, still in rotation to this day. I can't get over how good that song is. Starting off this record, I love that the Strokes show us that they're not afraid to give off a different vibe, put something else out there in the world other than just the steady rocking groove that's a little bit more fast-paced. They fall into a bit of a groove with just a simple guitar on the opening title track, Is This It? I love the melody on this one. It focuses more on Julian's voice, and I like that. They're showing off right off the bat that it's not just going to be predictable, and by no means is it throughout the entire listen. Right after that, we get into another great cut, the rip-roaring, the modern age. That one has stood the test of time as well, just like this entire record, really. I'm loving the drums. In fact, one of my favorite drum and bass combos on the entire record right there, but I have to get to track number 3 at this point because I've been holding back. I've been saving the best for last, the one that I really want to talk about in detail, Soma, my favorite song on the entire album, at least right now. I know that's subject to change, but right now I can say that this has been a consistent favorite of mine for years. I feel like whenever people look at the Strokes sometimes, they think, oh, it's the guy with the wandering voice that seems like he doesn't know what he's doing behind the microphone, I can't hear him, he's not speaking up enough, and on some songs, I'll agree, Julian does wander behind the mic, he gets a little bit lost, but on moments like Soma, he owns that son of a bitch. He gets behind the mic and he sings his heart out with what he does. It's not that he's singing so loudly and fervently and passionately, just so full of life and vivacious all the time. It's that he can go from quiet to loud, the dynamics perfectly balance. And I love that about the track Soma because it shows that off in just its most raw and intimate form. Soma is a track that starts off with this nice little catchy guitar riff, and then it works in the vocals, and he goes up and down the scale before really hitting us with that chorus. I love how fast the guitars get, especially the rhythm guitar on this. The lead as well, cutting in and out along with those frantic drums in places. It's something that I still have to sing the praises of all these years later. All in all, I think my favorite moments stand true as, of course, Soma, which I just listed. Trying Your Luck, I love the guitar on that one. It's simple, but just so effervescent. It transcends the little genre that I feel like a lot of people tried to place them in just because the lyrical content is there. And I know it's hard to make out sometimes. I definitely recommend reading along with these songs on Genius or another lyrics website, or if you've got like the vinyl or CD edition, pull out the lyrics and read along with exactly what's going on with these tracks because you're gonna miss out on some of my other favorites like Barely Legal and Last Night, or even Alone Together, one where he quite often references going down or else having someone go down on him. Another huge favorite for me. Take It or Leave It, Hard to Explain, coming in with those riffy guitars. I love that. It's just one of those moments that I could just groove to the instrumental of it all day long, even if it didn't have vocals on it. I feel the same way about Take It or Leave It. I do hope you guys enjoyed my throwback review for Is This It by The Strokes, their debut album, so critically acclaimed and for such good reason. I'm glad to finally have a review out of it in the world. I hope that you guys are interested in more Strokes reviews because I would love to do them. And of course, if you would like to help the videos keep coming, I recently relaunched my Patreon. Thank you so much for the support on that, guys. Already over $400 a month pledged. And of course, if you did not see my recent video where I talked about why I am on Patreon wanting to do YouTube full time, definitely check that out. It's on my channel. Other than that, leave your thoughts on Is This It in the comment section down below, and maybe Room on Fire is just around the corner. Thanks for leaving a like on the video today, guys. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, it's the little link all the way in this corner over here. Another recent throwback review right here, or another album review right here. Merch is officially launched. You can get that by clicking this little annotation for all lining the bottom of this video. Social media linked in the description. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.